So, sa lahat ng listeners, thank you po sa atheist community ng Philippines, kay Sir Mar sa bigay ng opportunity na mag-discuss nitong certain topic. At saka siyempre kay Sir Mark ng CFD Tagbilaran. And disclaimer pala, this is individual endeavors to nila. They do not bring any name organization that they belong in.
Mhm.
So here, let's start.
Okay.
Wait a second. Ayun. So, ayaw nyo magpakita ng mukha? Shy type?
Hindi, magkaka-technical difficulty ulit tayo, pre.
Alright. Sige. Individual endeavors to nila. Wait a second. Mic test nga, Mark, please.
Mic test.
Mic test.
Very good. Okay, clear naman. So, I hope clear din sa mga listeners natin. Para sa mga listeners natin.
Okay.
Okay, ayan. Sige. Alright, mag-start tayo. Ito yung rounds natin, to be clear sa kanila. First round is opening speeches. So, of course, sa pagkakaalam ko, ang ating proposition ngayong araw is the Aristotelian proof for the existence of God. So, of course, affirmative ang Christian side, which is Mark Steven Pandan, and si Sir Mar is negative in this proposition. So, first round is opening speech, second round is rebuttals, and third round is ating Q&A from the live audience. But first, meron tayong examination. So first, mag-cross-examine si Sir Mark and then si Sir Mark Steven na naman. Alright, let's start. For our first speaker, please introduce yourself, Sir Mark Steven, kung saan ka galing and your, of course, Christian ka, theological background mo, at saka siguro interest and shoutouts mo na lang. Alright, let's start.
Okay. So, I am Mark Steven Pandan from Bohol, City Bohol. I am a Catholic. There was an instance where I reverted to Catholicism. And by the way, I'd like to the Theist project, the group that I'm in, Peter Jake, and so on, to my friends in Tagbilaran, CFD, the Facility Defenders from the Diocese of Tagbilaran, and my friends, so on, and those who are listening were just interested in listening to a discussion that
Alright.
my interest, the Theist mainly focuses on natural politics, which means the defense of the view that God is it.
Okay. So, Sir Mark, medyo mahirap ang distinction ng names, Mar at Mark Steven. So, I'll call Mark Steven na lang.
Sige, that's good.
Mark Steven and Sir Mar. So, Sir Mar, you introduce yourself first.
Okay, so good afternoon everyone. Ako po si Mar ng Atheism in the Philippines Facebook page. So, I have been an atheist since siguro at least mga nasa 8 years na, no? And yung mga debates na ginagawa natin dito is isa siyang way, no, para ma-promote yung magandang pag-uusap dito sa koponan ng theism tsaka sa atheism, no. So konting background lang sa akin, yung Atheism in the Philippines page was founded on 2016, and ever since nagpo-post kami ng mga arguments and religious memes, no. Pero now magpo-focus tayo ngayon sa intellectual debates wherein maraming matututunan at marami tayong mapupulot na arguments and counter arguments on both sides, no? So yun yung target natin ngayong araw, and I hope ma-achieve natin to sa araw na to. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very nice background. Ay, sir, na 8 years na pala siya, at saka, of course, admin siya ng AITP, which is one of the most famous na social media platform for atheists. Alright, siguro mag-start na tayo. First, let's start with, of course, the proposition. Si Sir Mar. Sir, it's Mark Steven pala. Mark Steven, the listeners are saying na kind of hindi masyadong marinig yung voice mo.
Yung audio. Okay.
I mean, hindi daw clear.
Hindi clear.
Oh, yan. I think that's better.
Yeah, naririnig ko na rin ng maayos.
Alright, so sige, start na tayo. Alright, let me fix the timer first. So, wait a second.
So, how will I know if the time has passed? Just interrupt. Real, just.
Ayan, sige, start na.
Okay. So, in this discussion, I'll be defending the thesis that the Aristotelian argument makes belief in the existence of God reasonable. So, we have to make a few definitions. By the Aristotelian argument, I am referring to the argument defended by Dr. Edward Fraser in this book, 5 Proofs of the Existence of God, and also elsewhere, which is reminiscent of Aquinas' first way for the unmoved mover, though slightly another version of it. But he wants to remind us, quote, I defend an Aristotelian proof of God's existence, but not Aristotle's own proof exactly. Therefore, the heart of this discussion is whether Fraser's formulation of the argument works, and not whether a certain point would exactly be held by Aristotle. By God, I don't mean what the new atheists usually think when we mean by God, you know, that he's merely one God alongside others like Zeus, Venus, Thor, and so forth, which are in various ways limited. Instead, Fraser wrote, quote, the God of classic theism is underived or subsistent being itself, that from which anything else that exists or could exist derives its being, end quote. Sure, St. Thomas, Fraser, and I would identify him with the God of the Bible, but proving such is not a part of the goal of the argument at hand. Therefore, if we can discuss that at some other debate. By reasonable, I mean that the argument fulfills its aim to be a rational demonstration, which may not immediately convince all of its hearers, but that if understood and evaluated clearly, will not render one who follows its conclusion irrational. Okay, so the argument is philosophical, not scientific in the modern sense of the word. And such is precisely what we would expect if God exists, because by nature, he's beyond the universe. Hypothetically, a multiverse, he's beyond the multiverse, if such is true. Science can't even describe and explain everything within the universe, how much more those beyond. Scientism, by the way, is a philosophical position and is thus self-referentially incoherent. St. Thomas Aquinas thinks that God's existence is not too self-evident to us that it can no longer be questioned. Neither is it too obscure that it can't be demonstrated through reason. But God, if he exists, then by nature he is invisible. Therefore, we can't know about God's existence by directly seeing him. So we can demand for a kind of evidence that we have to see him just to believe that he exists. Yet we can reason from effects to their causes. For instance, when we see some dark smoke rising at a distance, we infer that there exists fire, which at the moment we can see, yet which we know exists to cause such an observable datum, the datum which is smoke. In the same way, we reason a posteriori, that is, from the things we observe that the existence of God is their cause. In the argument at hand, the datum is the real occurrence of change. So the argument, in summary, has 2 stages. The first stage reasons from the datum, which is change, the existence of an unchanging changer, which in more precise technical language is a purely actual actualizer. In the second stage, we reason that such purely actual actualizer has the key divine attributes, the existence of whom is what it means for God to exist. So the conclusion is that God exists. So I begin with stage 1. 1. Change is a real feature of the world. This is a direct. The premises are direct quotes from Fraser's book, 5 Proofs of the Existence of God. Okay, we don't need to suppose that everything in the world changes. Just that there's at least one observable occurrence of change, which is either qualitative, quantitative, local, or substantial. When one tries to entertain an argument that change is just illusory, your mind itself undergoes change by moving from one premise to another to a conclusion, thereby presupposing the truth of change, which is what is intended to be proven false. Yet for Parmenides, change is impossible. Take, for example, some cold water in a kettle. For it to change from cold to hot, hotness, which does not exist in the water yet, should come to be ex nihilo from nothing. Since something can come from nothing, change couldn't, Parmenides argues, in principle, occur. But there must be something wrong with this argument, since, as we have seen, the occurrence of change is undeniable. Aristotle later pointed out that Parmenides is wrong to suppose that change involves something coming from nothing. Hotness might not yet actually be in the cold water, but it is already there, potentially. So a change in water from cold to hot would involve the actualization of its potential to be hot. Since upon potential is something, not nothing, the actualization of potency does not involve something coming from nothing, and is therefore not impossible. So 2, change, then, is the actualization of a potential. Deny this, and you'd fall into the Parmenidean pitfall, the paradox, or the problem posed by Parmenides, and change would be impossible, which certainly is false. So the actualization of a potential is a real feature of the world, since change is real. Now, nothing changes without an already actual changer. In other words, for no potential can be actualized unless something already actualizes it. Fire below the kettle only has the causal power to actualize the water's potency to become hot if it itself is already actual. Unless the fire is already actual, that is, the wood's potential to burn is no longer potential but actual, the water won't become hot. Unless the ground is already actual, also, it can hold the water in place. More on this later. So 5, any change is caused by something already actual. It's not necessary to draw a distinction between 2 kinds of causal series, one ordered per accidens and the other ordered per se. In the former, also called an accidentally ordered causal series, the effects have inherent or built-in causal power, such that they could actualize potencies independent from a constant bestowal of causal power from their own actualizers. In such a series, the receiver of actualization could actualize further potencies even if its own actualizer no longer exists. A son, for example, still has causal power to have his own child even if his own father is already dead. In the latter, also called an essentially ordered causal series, the effects have causal power that is derived from their actualizers. This means that the receiver of actualization can only actualize potencies insofar as its actualizer concurrently bestows causal power to it. Water in a kettle's potential to boil potential to boil is actualized if and only if the heat from fire below, hot enough to boil it, concurrently heats it. So, meaning, removing the fire at any moment would result to a simultaneous, though not necessarily instantaneous, ceasing of the actualization of the water's potential to boil. Or in terms of water's location, water's potential to stay in that location is concurrently actualized by the kettle holding it, which is in turn held by some maybe large stones or a stove, which are then held on by maybe a table, or which is then held on by the ground. Now, unless you're in the world of Tom and Jerry, you'd fall if the ground that holds you or the water disappears. The former is also called a linear causal series since it typically extends backward in time, whereas the latter is also called a hierarchical causal series since it's time independent and the effect's causal power is less perfect than its cause, in the sense that the effect's causal power is just its cause's causal power, working through it as an intermediary. It is an instrumental cause, no, of its own cause, which is the principal cause. So sons actualized by fathers tend to go backwards in time, whereas the fire actualizing the kettle's potential to become hot, which in turn actualizes the water's potential to boil, are one event. Fire is a more perfect actualizer insofar as it is the principal cause for the boiling of the water, and the kettle's heat is merely an instrumental cause. The ground is also holding the water through the table, through the stone, or the stove, and then through the kettle as instruments. Now, 6. The occurrence of any change C presupposes something or substance S which changes. Meaning, water's change, for example, from cold to hot presupposes the existence of the water. The next point now focuses no longer on any change but on the very existence of things themselves. For example, the water itself. Keep in mind that the causal series that the argument is concerned with is per se, not per accident, so it won't be relevant to talk about the Big Bang or so on. That is talking about the cause or the cause of the universe back then in the beginning. That's not relevant to the discussion. What we need now is a cause of the universe at this very moment, at any moment that the universe exists. So point 7, the existence of S at any given moment itself presupposes the concurrent actualization of S's potential for existence. This leads us to ask, why is it that the existence of water at any moment that it does exist is actual, rather than it falling into nothingness? It is sometimes suggested that the answer is because S has existential inertia, that is, so long as no changer intervenes with it, with S, it has the capacity to remain in existence from time t to time t plus 1. But why is this the case? What gave the water the power? In the case of water, what gave it the power to remain in existence from t to t plus 1? When the actualization of its existence, i.e. the actualization of water's existence, no longer continues in the present, if we suppose so. Say at t, at time t, S has the power to remain in existence at t plus 1. So such power is being actualized at t plus 1, thus it remains in existence. But that's problematic since powers inhere in substances, and so S should first exist at t plus 1 for its very power to remain in existence to be actualized, leading us to a vicious regress. And add to that the fact that S's existence also rests on the actuality of its parts. Physically, S would collapse into nothingness at any moment that its microstructure, say the structure of H2O, is not actual. Metaphysically, the prime matter and substantial form of S and even of its physical parts are mere potencies and hence impotent to bestow actuality to each other and to S itself at any moment that S is actual. Neither could S exist if the essence and of existence of S or its parts are not conjoined. So 8, any substance S has at any moment some actualizer A of its existence, which conjoins its matter and form on the one hand and existence and essence on the other. Now it's time for a disjunction, point 9. A's own existence at the moment that it actualizes S itself presupposes A, the concurrent actualization of its own potential for existence, or B, A's being purely actual. What is essential, by the way, to being an actualizer is the actualization of something's passive potency to receive actualization. It is a merely potential or accidental, fact that actualizers tend to undergo change themselves upon causing actualization. To say otherwise is to commit the fallacy of accident, which a logic textbook defines as confusing the accidental with the essential. Hence, it is possible that S's actualizer is, or the actualizer A is purely actual. If so, then a purely actual actualizer exists. Now, for another disjunction, 10, if A's existence at the moment it actualizes S presupposes the concurrent actualization of its own potential for existence, then there exists a regress of concurrent actualizers that is either A, infinite, or B, terminates in a purely actual actualizer. 11, but such a regress of concurrent actualizers would constitute a hierarchical series, and such a series cannot regress infinitely because each intermediate actualizer has causal power concurrently derived from a first actualizer. The first actualizer must be purely actual, since if it has any potency, something else could actualize it. So in that case, it's not really ontologically first. a first actualizer must exist whose causal power is underived from anything else because it lacks any potency that could be actualized, or else S wouldn't exist at any moment that it does, which it can't be if it's not purely actual. So 12, either A itself is a purely actual actualizer, or there is a purely actual actualizer which terminates the regress that begins with the actualization of A. So the occurrence of C and thus the existence of S at any given moment presupposes the existence of that which is purely actual, which is the purely actual actualizer. So 14, there is a purely actual actualizer. That's the end of stage 1. How much time do I have left? So maybe I just continue until you say stop. No? So we have 6 minutes. Okay. So as we begin with stage 2, we have to keep in mind that as Facer points out in chapter 6 of his book, 3 concepts lie behind stage 2. First, the principle of proportionate causality, which means that whatever is in it, the effect must be in its total cause. And second, agile secret or essay or action follows being. We can talk about this more later. And third, the doctrine of analogy, which means that when we speak about God's attributes, we are speaking not univocally or in exactly the same sense that we speak about them in creatures, neither equivocally or in completely different senses, but analogically, wherein both from Facer, the term is not used in exactly the same sense in both contexts, but the senses are not completely different either. So when we talk about God's omnipotence or God's intellect, God's power, we're not talking about such attributes in exactly the same way.
Excuse me, Mark. If I can butt in, excuse me muna. Na-pause ko kasi yung timer. So maybe you have around 3 minutes na lang. I'm very sorry. Okay?
Okay, it's okay. So we can just summarize the stage 2 of the argument. In order for there to be more than one purely actual actualizer, there would have to be some differentiating feature that would actualize that one such actualizer has that the others lack. So this is just a direct quote from Facer. But there could be such a differentiating feature only if a purely actual actualizer had some unactualized potential, which, being purely actual, it does not have. So there can be no such differentiating feature, and thus no way for there to be more than one purely actual actualizer. So there has to be only one purely actual actualizer. The rest of the argument reasons that such one purely actual actualizer should be God. Why? Because it has to possess the key divine attribute. Specifically, we can talk about this more later. Such a purely actual actualizer, such one purely actual actualizer should be in premise 48. It should be one, immutable, eternal, immaterial, incorporeal, perfect, fully good, omnipotent, intelligent, and omniscient. We have independent reasons for each of them, for each attribute. And premise 49, but for there to be such a cause of things is just what it is for God to exist. So the conclusion is God exists. So as to the details of the stage, we can talk about that more later. Okay.
All right. So, ayun, I guess tapos na yung first opening speech. I mean, yung opening speech ni Mark Steven. So, of course, nakikita ko sa live chat na ang daming siguro atheist to, more gut feel ko lang. Atheist to. Nagrereklamo sila kasi nosebleed daw, kesyo ganito, ganyan. Metaphysical, ganyan. Kasi yun yung point kasi ng debate na to. Pag-uusapan nila yung proposition na yun. And of course, ito, ipapakita ni or ililay out ni Sir Mar ang kanyang views and opinions. Bakit negative siya dito? Or di siya nag-a-agree na possible si God sa argument ni ni Mark Steven. Alright? So, Sir Mar, let's start sa iyong speech.
Hello? Okay na ba?
Okay.
Sige. So, thank you Mark Steven for that introduction and dun sa iyong opening statement, no? Ibabanggitin ko lang sa mga nakikinig sa atin. Yung sinasabi ni Mark Steven is, ang tinatawag dito is the Aristotelian argument, no? And yung in-outline niya na mahabang premises, no, is galing kay Edward Fesser. Si Edward Fesser ay isang Christian book writer. So doon nang galing yung kanyang mga premises. For the convenience, no, of others, i-outline ko ulit yung mga premises na kanyang binigay para maging malinaw sa lahat, no. So, ang argument natin ngayon, ang tanong is the Aristotelian argument makes belief that the God exists is reasonable, no? So, kung sa madaling salita, kung gagamitin natin yung Aristotelian argument, no, reasonable ba na pagbasihan yon para masabing totoo ang Diyos, no? So, let's start, no? Sa sa sariling recording ko, ipapakita ko yung bawat premises, no? So, abangan natin yung replay nitong video na to para mas maging malinaw sa lahat yung mga premises para mabasa nyo rin. So, ang pinaka-basis nung argument ni Mark Steven is yung tinatawag nating unactualized actualizer. So, sa madaling salita, ito yung tinatawag na unmoved mover, no? So, bakit nga ba nagkaroon down ng unmoved mover? So, pupunta ngayon tayo doon sa premises na in-outline, no, ni Mark Steven. So, premise 1. Ang premise 1 natin is change is a real feature of the world. So, sa madaling salita, mga bagay-bagay sa mundo is nagbabago. Totoo naman, di ba? Wala tayong reklamo doon because it is an observed reality sa ating mundo, no? Ngayon, si Edward Fesser or si Aristotle, dinefine niya yung change, no? Ang ibig sabihin ng change para sa kanya or motion is yung pag-convert ng potential to actual, no? Kung narinig nyo kanina yung sinasabi niyang potentiality, actuality. So, pwede natin yung i-explain na yung potential ng isang bagay is yung mga pagbabago na pwedeng mangyari dun sa bagay na yun, no? And yung actuality, no, is yung naganap na pagbabago dun sa bagay na yun. So, sa madaling salita, sabi ni Aristotle, change occurs from potential to actual. So, ang formal na sinasabi niya doon is change is the actualization of a potential. So, sa Tagalog, yung pagganap ng posibilidad ng isang bagay, no? So, nabanggit niya yung hot and cold, no? So, sa practical example natin, yung tubig, may potential na uminit, tapos actually iinit siya. So, ganun yung nun. Ganun yung sa parang in short na, no? Ngayon, yung change na sinasabi ni Aristotle, nagre-require siya ng isa pang changer, no? So, dun sa nabanggit natin kanina, yung tubig, mula maligamgam, may potential siyang maging mainit. Tapos, kalaunan, magiging mainit siya. Pero di naman siya pwede maging mainit mag-isa, di ba? There has to be something already actual. So, ang ibig sabihin, already naganap na para magpaganap dun sa potential ng tubig na maging mainit. So, kung babalikan natin yung example natin kanina, yung tubig, may potential na maging mainit, naging actually na mainit siya. Bakit naging actually na mainit? There has to be something na magpapa-actual dun sa pag-init na yun, which is external heat, no? So, yung external heat na yun, titingnan mo rin. Yung external heat ba na yun, mag-isa ring nagbago from cold to heat? Hindi, di ba? So, kailangan mo rin ng isa pang actual para magpainit dun sa bagay na yun, no? So, ang problema ngayon ni Aristotle is magkakaroon tayo ng infinity doon sa ano na yon, doon sa kaso na yon, no? So, yung tubig, kailangang uminit, may nagpainit. Yung nagpainit, sino nagpainit? Isa pang nagpainit. Tapos, yung isa pang nagpainit, sino pa yung nagpainit doon, no? And so on and so forth. Ang tawag doon is vicious regress, no? Infinite regress, kumbaga. And it would go on to infinity unless merong tinatawag na unmoved mover or unactualized actualizer or uncaused cause para magsimula nung lahat ng bagay sa universe natin, no? And yun ang tinatawag niyang God. So anong aking reklamo dito, no? By the way, yung sinabi ko na yun, yung in-outline ko na yun, is premises 1 to 14 lang. Premises 1 to 14 lang yun nung argument ni Edward Fesser. No? So, napansin natin, no, si Mark Steven, medyo natagalan kanina kasi tinatry niyang i-outline lahat. No? Which is okay lang naman, no? Magkakatalo tayo sa rebuttals. Kung na-misinterpret man kita, Mark Steven, sa arguments mo, you can try to rebut my premises or yung interpretation ko ng mga premises, no? Mamaya. So, what's wrong with this dito sa argument na to, no? Unang-una, important note ko lang, yung argument ni Aristotle, yun din yung ginamit ni Thomas Aquinas, yun din yung ginamit ng mga ibang theologian, no? Para i-argue yung existence ng God. Kung familiar kayo sa 5 ways ni Aristotle, ni 5 ways ni Thomas Aquinas, yung argument from motion, argument from cause, argument from contingency, isa lang ang pinagbasihan niya, which is Aristotle. Yung argument ni Aristotle na merong prime mover o merong nauna na nagpagalaw sa lahat ng gumagalaw sa mundong to, no? So, sige, outline natin. Things change. Oo, sige, agree tayo dyan, no? Yung change must occur via something actual. Agree tayo dyan to an extent, no? Kasi meron siyang fallacy na na-commit, no? Which is, ang tinatawag natin na black swan fallacy. Yung black swan fallacy, kung i-explain ko siya ng simple is, pag sinabi mo na walang black swan kasi lahat ng swan na nakikita mo is puti, magkakamali ka doon once na mayroong lumitaw na actual na black swan. And meron nga na actual na black swan, no? So, sa madaling salita, yung sinasabi ni Mark Steven at ni Aristotle na no potential can be actualized unless something already actualizes it, no? So, hindi niya sinasabi doon na lahat ng may potential na maging actual ay merong taga-actual, or lahat ng may potential na mag-move ay merong mover. Pero ang pinaka-accurate doon is yung lahat ng na-observe natin sa universe na to na may potential na mag-move ay may mover, no? So kung finraise mo yun na gano'n, no, mas honest siya, mas accurate, and more admitting to the fact na tayo mga tao ay flawed beings na may limited view ng universe, no? So, if Fesser's argument or Aristotle's argument is to be 100% real, then even yung unactualized actualizer, yung unmoved mover, yung uncaused cause, should have an actualizer or cause or mover. So, sa madaling salita, yung prime mover dapat may mover din. Therefore, forcing the infinite regress because of the words themselves na everything has a cause, no potential can be actualized unless something already actualizes it, no? So, nagko-commit dito ngayon ng tinatawag na special pleading. Special pleading is yung gagawa ka ng exception dun sa argument mo, no? Na lahat may cause except lang si God, no? Lahat ganito except lang dito for the benefit of the argument of the theist, no? So siguro parang sa dating natin, no, dinideny ko na merong cause and effect, yung law of causality, no? Na merong cause ang universe, merong simula, 'di ba? Sasabihin siguro ng theist. What about yung Newton's law of motion, 'di ba? Ginagarantisado na niya na merong law of causality, merong law of cause and effect, na lahat ng gumalaw merong nagpagalaw, no? Actually no, they don't. Kasi ang scientific law natin ay descriptive at hindi prescriptive. Anong pinagkaiba nun? Ang descriptive is dinidescribe lang niya yung nakikita natin sa nature. So in other words, hindi siya utos, kumbaga, hindi siya prescriptive. So yung Newton's law of motion, dinidescribe lang niya yung universe as we see fit. Hindi nito ibig sabihin na yung pinaka start ng universe is may cause din, no? Because discussions about the origin of the entire universe must go outside the conventional math and science laws as we know it. Kasi nga simula na ng universe yung pinag-uusapan natin, eh. Tapos gagamit ka ng Aristotelian law, Newtonian law, para i-describe yung beginning ng mga law na yun. So medyo meron ka ditong mismatch sa argument natin, no? Ang mga scientists ina-admit nila na sa Big Bang, everything breaks down at t equals to 0 sa mismong simula, no? And hindi natin alam kung ano nangyari, no? Maaari mong sabihin na yung Big Bang is yung simula. No. Ang pinaka-formal argument ng Big Bang is yung expansion ng universe. Hindi na dinidescribe yung simula. No? Yan yung trabaho ngayon ng mga cosmologists is para i-discuss yung simula. While yung mga theologists naman, no, gumagamit ng Aristotelian logic, Newtonian logic to justify the beginning of the universe. And that's just not the case, no. Kasi tulad nga sinasabi ko kanina, we are flawed human beings with a limited view of the universe, no. Hindi natin sigurado kung may beginning ba ang universe, hindi natin sigurado kung infinite ba siya. It's just that we don't know, no. No. So, ulitin natin, no? Yung Big Bang, sinasabi, yung universe had a beginning. Actually, kung napanood niyo yung debate ni Sean Carroll tsaka ni William Lane Craig, no? Binibida ni William Lane Craig yung theory nila, Alan Guth, Board, tsaka Vilenkin, na nagsasabi na the universe had a beginning. Kung mapapanood niyo yun, mismong yung creator ng mga theorem na yun ay nagsabi na I don't know whether the universe had a beginning, no? I suspect that it's eternal. We don't know. 'Di ba? So sa makatuwid kung magbabase talaga tayo sa scientists, no. The really honest answer to that is we don't know, no. So siguro sa rebuttals na lang natin tsaka sa question and answer i-delineate yung mismong outline ng ating Aristotelian argument, no. Pero ultimately the Aristotelian argument breaks down because of two things, no. Na yung assumption nila na the entire universe had a cause and that infinite regress is impossible, no. And yung mga fallacies na nagamit dun sa Aristotelian argument is black swan fallacy, you know, argument from personal incredulity, no. Ang ibig sabihin nun is basically hindi ko ma-imagine na may infinite regress, therefore hindi siya pwedeng mangyari. Yun yung summary nung sinasabi ni Aristotle or ni Edward Feser doon sa premise number 11, no. But such a regress of concurrent actualizers would constitute hierarchical causal series, and such a series cannot regress infinitely. So sinasabi nila na hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng infinite regress. Hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng infinity na may gumawa nito, no. The universe, shall we say, pwede siya maging infinite, no. Hindi lang natin alam, di ba? Now, and lastly, and even if mag-agree ako sa argument ni Feser, no, yung last one is still unsubstantiated. Yung premise number 50 na therefore God exists, no. Yung theist natin, they can add more arguments as to why they think yung uncaused cause equals God. Pero yung Aristotelian argument alone can only prove a cause, hindi God. To which I will happily concede out of convenience. Kasi sa lahat naman ng experience natin may cause and effect, di ba? Pero kung gagamit ka ng absolute statements, kailangan mo siyang i-prove definitely, no? Otherwise, the answer to that is simply I don't know, no? Now, one may argue na yung mga works ni Aristotle is puro metaphysics, no? And either kulang ako ng required knowledge para i-tackle yung mga metaphysical subjects, or sadyang hindi lang ako willing pag-usapan yung metaphysics. Well, pagdating sa arguments kay God, both are true, no? Kasi I admit, kasi sa metaphysics, dinefine niya ni Aristotle as beyond the physical, the study of being, no? Ang sabi nga sa dictionary is they label it as abstract theory with no basis in reality, no? Kung disagree man si Mark Stevens sa definitions na yon, i-addaan niya sa rebuttals, no. Call me old-fashioned, pero kung gagamit ka ng metaphysics para mag-prove ng God, you will end up with more speculations than answers. And this is precisely yung problema ng Aristotelian argument, no. I would personally be convinced kung yung Diyos nagmamanifest sa actual reality and not in concepts using empirical evidence rather than metaphysical ones, no. So the question was posed, is the Aristotelian argument makes believe that the God exists reasonable? I think ang isang all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good, all-present, perfect and loving creator of the universe would provide a much better evidence rather than appealing sa metaphysics at faulty human logic. So by that, I will end my opening statement and ibibigay ko na yung floor sa ating moderator. Thank you.
So kung anong naintindihan ko sa sinabi ni Sir Mark. First is, of course, sabi niya na paano mo nasabing necessarily merong merong cause ang isang bagay na alam naman natin yung consciousness ng tao is limited into their senses. Tama ba ako, Sir Mark? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Limited sa ating senses yung ating napiperceive, of course. Hindi tama na sasabihin natin porket ganito ang galawan ng first law of motion, ganito na rin sa metaphysical world. Kasi kung may background kayong konti ako may konting kalaman ako sa quantum physics. So, yung double slit experiment, the quantum entanglement. So, the conclusions, one of the conclusions sa mga experiments na yun or sa mga theories na yun is whenever isang physical na experiment is observed, hindi katulad ang kanilang result sa isang experiment na hindi na-observe. Whenever there's a conscious mind na nag-observe nitong experiments, nag-iiba ang kanyang result. That means, hindi lahat ng bagay sa metaphysical world is the same theoretically sa physical world. So, feeling ko yun ang meaning ni Sir Mar na paano naging ganun. And isa pa, yung kanyang why do you have to label the cause, the first cause as God. Kasi when you say God, the word God has existed siguro for 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years sa simula pa ng human race. And when you say God, sa salitang God, may baggage na siguro kailangan mo i-prove paano naging God yung iyong cause. And yeah, so yun na yun. So let's have Sir Mark Steven. Sorry Sir Mark Steven, wala akong masyadong masabi sa yung mga statements kasi of course, yun na yun. Mahirap siya i-explain, to be honest. Kasi parang self-explanatory na siya and of course, lahat nasa English. And na-explain ni Sir Mark yung iba. And sige, Sir Mark Steven, start mo yung rebuttals mo for sa opening speech ni Sir Mark.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Adriel and Sir Mar. So, maybe I have to apologize for speaking in English because I really find it difficult to speak in Filipino safely. So, I have to speak in English. Para makasinabot me. Now, I also used a lot of jargons, act and potency, like that, material causality, efficient causality, formal causality. I have to use that. As Facer has noted in a lecture, he has to use first common sense, that change of course, and then from the common sense, we abstract concepts, which we then use jargons to describe these concepts so that we can move beyond common sense, but not to contradict it, and to follow our abstractions from common sense to their logical consequences. So we have to do that. Okay. So maybe the first point raised by Sir Mar is that it committed the black swan fallacy. The black swan fallacy. According to just a quick Google search, it is defined as the black swan fallacy is one in which the arguer ignores contradictory evidence on the basis of past experience. This can also be a variation of the argument from Durance. Okay. So, if correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe the argument that which is pointed out, which is fallacious, premise 2. So, premise 2, we read, change is the actualization of a potential. And in premise 3, so the actualization of a potential is a real feature of the world. So maybe the claim is that maybe, just maybe, some potentials do not have to be actualized, and we just say that all potentials are actualized just because all we observe and all things we observe that are merely potential, they have to be, they only change when such potentials are actualized. I think that is just another way of saying that we don't know, no? Or to put it bluntly, that I don't understand, no, the nature of change, because as we have said, the analysis, no, the analysis of change as the actualization of potential follows from the problem raised by Parmenides, which is that if change involves something coming from nothing, then change would be impossible, because something coming from nothing is impossible. Aristotle came in and resolved the problem raised by Parmenides, because we just know that change occurs. In fact, Sir Mar argues that change occurs. And the problem with Parmenides' claim is that he assumed that the coming to be of something from nothing is an essential part of change. In fact, Aristotle would say that it is not at all involved in the process of change. What change involves is something coming from something. But there are different kinds of somethings involved. Potency coming to actuality. And what if some potentialities just become actualized without an actualizer? And that is contrary to the principle of causality. No? Now, one problem of that, one of the problems of this position of rejecting such principle, of the principle of causality, is that, for example, the water has already had the potential to be hot even before the fire actualizes that potential. No? That potential already existed in the water. But now, if potentials without actualizers are sufficient to actualize its potency to be hot or to be cold, then it should have already become hot even before the actualizing power of the fire itself is actualized. Diba? That's the problem, because if the potentiality is already in the water before it becomes hot, and potentiality is enough to raise itself to act, then it should have already been actualized. But it is not. It waits for the actualizing power of the fire for it to be actualized. Therefore, it is reasonable to conclude that change involves the actualization of a potential. Point 2, he raised also that even the unmoved mover must have a mover, because he said one way in which to summarize the premise of Aristotle is that, of the Aristotelian proof, is that, quote, everything has a cause. He directly said that one of the premises of the argument is that everything has a cause. Now, if you read all premises from 1 to 50, you cannot find a single premise which states everything has a cause. In fact, not even a single, I think, Fraser contends in chapter 6, I think, or chapter 7, I mean, of his book, that no single competent natural theologian has made the claim that it is part of a premise of a cosmological argument that everything has a cause. Rather, they always say, for example, for Leibniz, anything that exists has an explanation for its existence, either in in the necessity of its own nature or in something else. The Kalam cosmological argument does not say that everything has a cause. It says that everything that begins to exist has a cause. Now, so what I'm saying is that is a straw man that commits the fallacy of straw man, because everything has a cause has never been a premise of the Aristotelian proof, neither in other arguments for God's existence, because the premise states that not that everything has a cause, but that everything change involves the actualization of a potential. No? And point 4, this is the heart of it. No potential can be actualized unless something already actual that actualizes it. So everything that is composed of act and potency, meaning everything that has moved from potency to act, must have an actualizer. There is a qualification that everything that moves from potency to act, not just everything that has an actualizer, because yes, I would agree that if that is a part of the argument, then yes, that would commit the fallacy of special pleading, because why would God not be that, or not also need a cause or an actualizer? But as I said, that is a straw man. It has never been a premise of the argument. Why? We are not excluding God in the general principle that is raised in the premise. Exclude God is to say that He's an exception exception to the rule, but that is not the case, because the rule is that everything that moves from potency to act needs an actualizer. But God did not move in principle. The first actualizer did not move from potency to act, because if he does, then there has to be something else to actualize him. So by definition, or not just by definition, but by the nature, by the very nature of what is needed to ground the existence of anything that undergoes change, there has to be a purely actual actualizer. That is not special pleading, because it does not exclude, it's not an exception to the rule. Okay, 4. It says that he has pointed out that the principle of causality is maybe if it is rooted by science, and science is merely descriptive and not prescriptive, then the principle of causality is not grounded. No, maybe it is not true. It's just our best guess so far. But that is a problem, because a denial of the principle of causality would also violate the principle of sufficient reason, because something in the effect, if PC or principle of causality is false, then there must be something in the effect that is not in the cause. But in that case, there's something that is in the effect that is inexplicable, and therefore violating the PSR. And if this will be raised further, the violation of a PSR, to deny PSR, one has to assume it is true. More on this later. The next point is that Sir Mar has said that the universe could just have come to be through different processes that does not need a first cause, which is God, a first actualizer, which is God. But as I've said earlier, we have to distinguish between two kinds of causal series. The first is that of an accidentally ordered causal series, and second is that of an essentially ordered causal series. So, as I have said, what is the kind of causal regress that is being tackled here? It is the second. It is the essentially ordered causal series. To say that this is about the beginning of the universe is to assume that the causal series pointed out by Phaser and Aristotle is that of a series ordered accidentally, which is irrelevant to the discussion. And next, he has also mentioned the Sean Carroll and Craig debate. Yes, I have watched that, but as I have said, the Kalam cosmological argument is very different from the Aristotelian argument, because the Kalam cosmological argument it does not assume, but it uses the principle that it uses the causal series that is ordered accidentally, whereas the Aristotelian argument uses the causal series that is hierarchical or essential. So, also, he has also said that why is such a distinction important? It is important because in an accidentally ordered series, maybe if our listeners haven't known this, the series does not need in principle a first cause. So I would agree that if the argument uses a causal series that is ordered per accidents, then we do not need a first cause, because the causal series can just go to infinity. But as I have said, the argument uses a causal series that is ordered per se. What is the main difference? What is the crucial difference? The crucial difference is this: in a causal series ordered per se, the actualizers are the basis of the causal power of the effects actualize other actualizers. Meaning, things that are actualized have their causal powers derived from their actualizers. For example, we can use the example of a table, a table which has a cup of coffee in it. The coffee is being held by the cup is being held by the table is being held by the floor, and so on. At any moment that you remove any of those things that hold the water in place, at any moment that you remove them, the water would change location. It would fall down into the ground, and maybe the cup would break. The point is this, that what we are concerned with in this argument is not a first cause in the sense of time, but a first cause in the sense that which grounds the very existence of the universe at this very moment, like the ground, which holds the entire causal series in place. That holds then that substance S which undergoes the change. So maybe we can discuss more about these two causal series later, because this is very crucial to understand the argument. It is also said that the universe could be infinite, as I said. Even Saint Thomas Aquinas said that we cannot prove by philosophy that the universe could be infinite. Maybe he's wrong with that, maybe, we're not sure, but that is a claim. It is, in a sense, if we will be talking about interpretation, that is an eisegesis in a sense. It is using what one understands in the Kalam cosmological argument and using that interpretation to interpret the Aristotelian proof, which is very wrong-headed, no? 9. Why does the pure act have to be God? As I've said, we can talk about that in the stage 2, and the time was not enough earlier. We can just summarize some points. As I've said, there has to be only one purely actual actualizer, because if there has to be more than one, there must be a differentiating feature that one purely actual actualizer has that the other purely actual actualizer lacks. But to have one is to have a potential. But being purely actual, it does not have. Therefore, there has to be only one purely actual actualizer. So it is consistent with the theistic view of God as only one, and it disproves polytheism. It also has to be, as I've said earlier, it has to be immutable, because to be immutable is to be incapable of change, and being purely actual, it has no potentiality whatsoever to be actualized. Therefore, it is immutable. It has to be eternal, because if it is not eternal, meaning if it is in time, then it is capable of change, because whatever is in time is capable of change. It is changing with time, across time. So it has to be eternal, because it is immutable. Now, if it is outside time, then it has to be outside the universe. And if it is outside the universe, then it is immaterial, because matter is confined to the universe, or maybe of the multiverse, whatsoever. So if the multiverse is true, then it is outside that. It has to be incorporeal, because a body is matter and is immaterial. Therefore, he has no body, which means he is spiritual. It has to be perfect, because to be perfect, one has to have no privation whatsoever. One has to have no potentiality that is unactualized. But but the existent thing that we have proved, a purely actual actualizer, being purely actual, it lacks any such potential that is unactualized. Therefore, it is perfect, or it is perfect. It is also fully good, because there is also no potentiality in him that is unactualized. He has to be omnipotent, because all the causal powers in their series that we have said, and all causal powers that are being actualized inside the universe, or even the multiverse, are from him. They're all derived from him. And to be that which from which all power derives is to be omnipotent. So God, or that purely actual actualizer, has to be omnipotent. It has to be intelligent. More in this later, we can talk about this because of the constraint of time, but maybe in the Q&A. But the point is, he has to have all those key divine features. But to have a purely actualizer, which is the cause of the universe, which has all those all those key attributes, is what it means for God to exist. And Saint Thomas Aquinas did not stop at proving that an unmoved mover exists. If you just turn a page, you will see, or even the table of contents, you will see that he then goes on to elaborate that such a purely actualizer has the key divine attributes and has to be God. So it has to be God, and we have shown that through reason. Now, how much time do we have left? 40 seconds left. Okay. So about the remark from quantum physics, as it must be clear that the principle of causality does not have to be deterministic. It can be indeterministic. Therefore, if there are conditions that have to be necessary for certain changes to occur in the quantum realm, then the principle of causality still has to be true. It does not have to be deterministic. So one last objection which we have time to rebut is that, okay, if God exists, then we must be able to prove him empirically. meaning that we must sense something that tells us that God exists, and only that can be a basis for us to believe that God exists. But that is a problem, because God, if He exists, is invisible. If He exists, He has no body. If He exists, He is beyond the universe, and empirical evidence has to be inside the universe, and by definition, or by its very nature, it cannot be used to infer or to know about God's existence, but rather we research the effects, the causes. So
your grace period for information. Okay, are
Thank
you
you.
done?
Yes, yes.
All right, that's great. So yeah, so para makasunod yung viewers or makikinig sa atin, first nag-argue si Sir Mark Steven about God's existence through yun nga, Dr. Edward Fester's argument. And then nirebat ni Sir Mar na kaya nga, how can you say na this is a God, and how could you be so sure in spite of limited senses and limited na kaya nating i-perceive. Next is, ngayon, sa speech ni Sir Mark Steven, ang may explain ko lang is somehow sa kanyang epistemology. The first is, sabi niya na, this is our best explanation. Since this is how the consensus works, since sabihin natin the best explanation sa ng shape ng Earth is circle, that's the best explanation. That's what the consensus says. So, meaning, ito yung truth. Kumbaga, parang since tama ba ako, Sir Mark Steven? If something that is na way better explanation, mag-change bang mind mo?
Maybe, but that really is not my point.
Yeah, but for instance, merong much better, pero it's not I'm not saying na meron talaga. What if there's a much better explanation? Para intellectual honesty lang na pakita natin. Yes.
What do you mean that there is a better explanation of change that is not God?
Yeah. That there's a better explanation that it should not be labeled as God.
Okay, so if there is a better explanation, then maybe I would reconsider.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yun ang natindihan ko sa epistemology. Since that's the best explanation, yun eh. And of course, yung sa last part niya, sabi niya na, you have to, para in philosophy, ontological and epistemological distinction, two entities or itong dalawang phenomena sa to are not the same in nature. God and is timeless, spaceless, hindi siya matter. So you cannot investigate both in the same manner. So yeah, that's just it. So hindi natin patatagalin pa. Next speaker is Sir Mar of AitP. Let's go.
Yes, thank you moderator. I-unpack muna natin yung sa nauna, no? Yung sinabi mo kanina, yung tungkol sa quantum physics, no? Na tawag dito yung tinatawag na double slit experiment, yung mayroon tayong tinatawag na observer effect, no? Ay ang observer effect kasi it's not technically a metaphysical phenomenon, no? Ang sinasabi lang ng observer effect is that at the subatomic level, sobrang liit na nung mga ino-observe nating particles that kapag ka inobserve natin siya, which requires light, 'di ba? Pag nag-observe tayo, kailangan may ilaw, otherwise natin makita, 'di ba? Yung mismong photons themselves, binabago yung state ng mga subatomic particles, no? So yun lang yung significance nung quantum mechanics na yun, no? Pagdating sa observer effect. It's that at the subatomic level, yung notion natin ng typical observance breaks down kasi mismong yung pag-observe entails change, no? So, sige, enough about that. Let's get to Mark Stevens' arguments. Yung issue nung sa English ni Mark Steven, understandable naman. Hindi mo fault, Mark Steven, kung hindi naintindihan ng audience yung mga pinagsabi mo, no? Yeah, they have the responsibility pag nanonood sila nung usapan natin to research, no? You research beforehand, I research beforehand, the audience after this, they should too, no? Para matuto sila. So, okay lang 'yan, no? Let's learn together, no? So, teka. Ang simulan natin is yung from the latest mong sinabi up to the top, no? So, una natin yung there has to be one actualizer, no? Pinoint out ni Mark Steven na yung buong argument ni Fesser, which is premises 1 to 14 and then 15 to 16 hanggang sa 50, it entails singular, perfect, all powerful, all knowing, all good, ganto ganyan, tag dito, fully good, no? Na-address naman 'yon dun sa argument, no, ni Fesser. Pero yun na nga yung issue doon no? You can define these premises yourself such that it will be consistent internally, no? You still have not proved it to be the existing God. It's only an arbitrary label given to the characteristics of perfect, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good, etc. na kapag ka pinag-combine mo, it will invoke a ton of contradictions na kailangan mong i-justify, no? At yung mga contradictions na yan, it will be best addressed on another topic, namely yung the problem of evil, the problem of divine hiddenness, no? Yan yung mga magsa-surface, no? Pagka sinabi mo na all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good. I'm sure napag-usapan natin to dati, no? So, yung characteristics ni God na ikinabit, no, based on the deductive reasoning sa Fesser's argument, kailangan required siya na maging realistic din, no? This is a classic example that even if the entire syllogism is sound, it doesn't mean that it is true or it comports with reality, no? It just means that the argument is consistent within itself. And this is the trick na ginagawa ng mga theists, no? Gumagawa sila ng contained scenario where everything is defined by them, no? Yung concept by God, yung concept ng perfection, ng maximally great, in a way na consistent sila with each other, without considering the fact that these attributes is non-existent in the real world, no? And therefore it cannot be tested, no? Metaphysical na nga, hindi mo pa matetest kung anong ibig sabihin nung perfect, nung all-powerful, no? Nung all-knowing, all-good, no? Kasi hindi mo siya makikita sa reality. Nakikita mo lang siya doon sa mismong contained argument mo on the premises, no? So in short, kung bibigyan natin ng analogy, para mo na rin sinabi na the entire Middle Earth universe created by J.R.R. Tolkien sa Lord of the Rings must be true just because consistent siya internally at walang contradictions dun sa mga libro niya, no? Ang tanong ba, is it consistent with reality itself, no? And then mapunta tayo dun din sa Aquinas says that we can prove universe is not infinite. Wala naman nagsasabi nga na required na magkaroon ng finite o infinite universe, kasi nga ang distinction mo dun sa causal series is between accidental versus essential, no? Sa definition mo ng essential, ginamit mo yung table analogy, no, na kapag inalis mo yung isang aspeto nung cause, yung whole series is mababali, no? No, kapag ka yung table nakapatong sa floor, yung floor nakapatong sa semento, tapos pag yung nakapatong sa lupa, tanggalin mo yung lupa, magbe-breakdown lahat, no, pati yung table, no? Ang argument ko naman din dito kasi is yung hierarchical series eventually pupunta rin siya sa beginning, no? Basically ang ina-argue mo dito is the unmoved mover itself is the beginning. Kasi nga siya yung actualizer na mag-actualize ng lahat, no? Pero since you have asserted na hindi siya pwedeng i-actualize ng isang actualizer dahil magkakaroon ng infinite regress, you have to assert that the universe must be finite and had a beginning. Nandun na tayo requirement na yun dun sa argument that the universe must have a beginning. So kapag ka may nagsabi or may na-discover ng mga scientists na the universe is infinite, basically your argument breaks down, di ba? Uh, in fact, let me ask you this, no? If you say God is uncaused, why can't I say that the universe is uncaused? Diba? Anong pinagkaiba niya? This shows the meaningless label of God when you think about it. Kaya lang siya uncaused, cause, kasi God ang tawag mo sa kanya. Pero as far as we know, the universe can be infinite and it can be uncaused, which is sabi mo nga, hindi naman yun yung kino-contain ng argument mo. So there is a possibility, di ba? Who knows? Kasi to prove this, kailangan ikaw maging perspective ka outside this reality to prove once and for all kung sino ba talaga yung tunay na cause. No? And we cannot do that. Kasi kung ang rason mo para i-argue yung uncaused cause is dahil illogical and infinite regress, pero you make a special pleading case para kay God, para di siya kasama sa infinite regress, you have not proven anything. Lahat ito ay speculation lang, hinging on the hope that our reality today is the same as the reality on the very beginning. And this is, in a nutshell, the problem of induction. No? Therefore, deducing God's existence using Fesser's syllogism will not work because in the end, pipigilan ka pa rin ng problem of induction. No? Yung nagsasabi, maraming sabi sa comments, no, this is a deductive reasoning, so you have no choice but to accept it. Pero yung assumptions mo, yung underlying assumptions mo is based on induction. And yun nga, the problem of induction states that meron kang primary assumption na yung physics, yung causality, yung understanding natin is the same as the events on the previous, which is unsubstantiated, di ba? Tapos, ayun, so, yung isa pa, God does not commit special pleading. Sinabi mo kanina because hindi siya nagko-commit ng change, di ba? Kasi nga siya yung unactualized actualizer, no? Unfortunately, this is still a special pleading fallacy, no? Moved 1 degree further, ika nga, di ba? Kasi ang sa nakikita ko dito is hindi pwedeng maging special pleading si God, no? Dahil hindi siya actualized, no? Tsaka hindi siya mover, isa siyang kumbaga para siyang creator, kumbaga from something to nothing, di ba? Ito yung sinasabi ko rin ulit na tactic ng theist, no? To escape the logical fallacies. If their argument is that they employ different meanings to words such that kakasya siya ng maayos dun sa argument nila, pero di naman siya consistent with reality. No? Take a look at this. Binuo nila yung premises around the observation in nature na change occurs via a transition from potentiality to actuality, no? Tapos nagbigay ng example, di ba, na yung tubig potentially mainit, naging actual na mainit because something acted upon it. Pero when we try to disprove their argument by pointing out na special pleading siya, na who actualized na the actualizer, magkakaroon ngayon ng shift in words, no? Yung magkakaroon ngayon ng wordplay. Tawag dito, parang naging ano nga siya, naging parang creation nga siya, no? But this definition of creation is not reflected in reality. All we have are examples of creating something from something, therefore implying change, diba? Pero pagdating sa God, nagbago na yung meaning, naging creation from nothing. For me, this is just a semantic wordplay. Pwede kong i-argue that nothing has a potential to be something, therefore pasok pa rin siya dun sa fallacy ng God nila. Ginawan pa rin nila yung exception. All actual comes from an actualizer, except our God that we defined as an actualized actualizer. See the words, they call their God unactualized actualizer, unchanging changer, unmoved mover, uncaused cause. And the attempt na i-redefine itong God papunta sa creation, no, is an apparent shifting of the goalposts, no. And ibalikan natin yung table analogy, no, ni Mark Steven. Gusto kong i-pinpoint yung sinasabi ko kanina na essential causal series will in effect kahit anong mangyari, pupunta pa rin siya doon sa key concept of beginning, no. Kunwari, let's use the example of laptop, no. Pagka laptop, gusto mong buksan, gusto mo siyang i-change from on to off, di ba? So, i-apply natin. May laptop ka that has a potential to be on. Isasaksak mo siya sa extension, isasaksak mo yung extension sa wall outlet, so nag-on na yung laptop mo, nagkaroon ng change, di ba? The chain reaction ng actualization dito is yung pag-on ng laptop caused by electric current, caused by the power cables transmitting electrons, caused by the electromagnetic induction and generator, caused by a renewable energy source, let's say nuclear, caused by fission reaction ng atoms, caused by the weak nuclear force, one of the four fundamental forces of the universe, which was caused by the subatomic particles, caused by the Big Bang, and then caused by, dito na tayo magtatanong, and we can speculate na yung first cause natin is God or the universe, etc. Pero in the assertion na if there is no unmoved mover, change would be impossible. It's clearly untrue. No? Kasi if we can speculate na ang universe ay infinite, at ang isa sa mga consequences ng pag-exist niya is ang pagbuo ng mga subatomic particles at fundamental forces, then yung subsequent changes resulting from it ay mangyayari pa din. May unactualized actualizer man o wala, change will still occur. No? Ang sa akin lang is nakasubscribe ako sa tinasabi natin Occam's razor. No? So, sa mga hindi nakakalam, yung Occam's razor is yung philosophical principle na the less assumptions you make, the closer you are to the truth. No? And then, through removing the assumption of this uncaused cause or God, no? Magkakaroon tayo ng less baggage para i-explain. No? So, nabanggit ko nga yung baggage natin na yung special characteristics na all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good, tapos pag pinagsama mo yun, magkakaroon ka ng contradictions. Maybe, Mark Steven, we can discuss that on another debate, no? Pero yun yung laban ko doon, no? Pag pinagsama-sama mo lahat ng premises ni Fesser at ni Aristotle, you will have within you a contradiction that you yourself must answer in order for Fesser or for Aristotle to be right in the first place. Yes. Ano ba? Tawag ba ako? Hindi naman? O yun, so I guess yun yung bulto ng rebuttals ko, no? And I hope na yung mga makikinig i-research din yung argument ni Fesser, argument ni Aristotle para mas maintindihan natin ng maayos kung hindi man nila magets, no? So yun, thank you. Mod.
Hello?
Yes.
Sir?
Okay na.
Sir Moderator? Sir Moderator?
Rinig ba? Rinig?
Pre, nawala na yung mod
Okay,
natin.
so, hello?
Hello. Okay na. Ayan, dinig ko na.
Okay na. Alright. So, yan. Mataas-taas pang time na naiwan sa speech ni Sir Mar, but I think na-address naman niya lahat ng feeling ko kailangan niyang i-address. And yeah, parang sa tingin ko, sa aking point of view lang, ang tinatry na pino-point out ni Sir Mar is parang ang argument ni Steven is tautology. It means there should be an explanation for the cause of Earth, then it should be God. There's a big gap, God of gaps din eh.
Yes.
So, that's what he's trying to say to you. So here, let's hear the cross-examination sila. They will have 5 minutes each, mainly to ask questions lang. Siguro iwasan lang natin na mag-argue, sumbatan na. I believe naman na hindi naman kayo gano'n kasi mga tao. So, yeah. Alam niyo naman paano yung cross-examination nag-work. So, let's start with the atheism side, Sir Mar. So, Sir Mar, please ask questions kay Sir Mark Steven.
So, Mark Steven, ang ating question kasi is the Aristotelian argument makes the belief that God exists is reasonable, no? So, well, dinefine mo yung reasonable bilang, teka, hugutin ko lang yung notes ko dito. Dinefine mo dito yung reasonable as parang true, no? Or comporting with reality. Teka. Ngayon, ini-interpret ko yung sinabi mo, no, as parang deductive, no? So kung lahat ng premises nung Aristotelian argument is true, then we have no choice but to say that God exists, no? Pero para magawa mo yon, you have to answer the issue of hard solipsism. The principle na paano mo nasisigurado na ikaw ay nag-exist talaga at hindi isang ano lang, brain lang, no. So sa madaling salita, let's use the matrix argument, no. So how can you disprove the idea na itong lahat ng universe natin, lahat ng na-experience natin is just a simulation in the matrix. Tapos the matrix itself is created by infinite beings na hindi nagsusunod sa conventional physics and logic natin. How do you eliminate that? And therefore, how can you say na God is the only answer kapag ino-consider mo yung Aristotelian argument?
Okay. So, so the question is, what if the universe in actuality is a simulation? Is that it? So if it is a simulation, and maybe it does not follow the laws that we observe in the universe. Okay, so I will respond to that by this: that even in that case, the principle of sufficient reason cannot be denied.
Paki-expound
also,
yung principle of sufficient reason para maintindihan natin.
So, the principle of sufficient reason states that everything has an explanation, either in the necessity of its own nature or in something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, the point that I'm trying to raise is that in such a universe, since the PSR would be true, and the principle of causality is built on PSR. So if PSR is true, then we have good grounds to say that the principle of causality is true. Then the principle of causality would still apply in that world. In that world, in any kind of possible world whatsoever. And in such a world also, change would still occur. Change would still occur. In a simulation, change is necessary. Things in the simulation change. Therefore, the argument still works in that case. So, I would contend that the argument would still work even in a universe that is simulated. And as I said, it is irrelevant whether it is infinitely old or not. So that would be it. Maybe you want some clarification?
Hindi, ang sinasabi ko kasi dito is kung tayo ay nasa isang simulation, no, and yung law of physics natin, yung apparent scientific principles natin, and yung mismong law of logic themselves is a simulation also, no? And then outside that simulation, mapupunta ka ngayon sa isang outside universe wherein the law of physics themselves and the law of logic themselves are entirely different, no? And so I can also argue na doon sa outside universe na yon, hindi niya sinusunod yung law of causality. So paano mo pa rin yun matatanggal yung ganong possibility para masabi mo that the only explanation can only point to God?
Okay. So I'd like to focus on the laws of logic, no? Laws of logic. The laws of logic are violated in the outside world, then the principle of the laws of physics would also follow. They would also not be true in that. So the problem of that suggestion is this: that such a world would be internally coherent. It would involve contradictions within itself because the laws of logic are violated in that case, diba? The law of non-contradiction would be violated in, but it would be very unreasonable, I think, if we go against the very possibility for it to exist would not be actualized because such possibility does not even exist. Why? Because it would involve self-contradictions. So I would say that such a world could not in principle exist.
Yeah.
A world so that would pose no problem to the argument. It would still the thesis that the argument provides reasonable belief, makes belief in the existence of reasonable, is still intact. Even with that suggestion.
Pero Mark Steven, hindi ka pa rin hindi mo pwedeng i-appeal yung conventional logic natin eh. Kasi yung conventional logic natin is built upon this universe. Sige, ito itanong ko sa iyo. Do you think that logic is contingent on human beings. But by logic, I mean logical laws. The law of logic.
Logical law. Okay, as to the question kanina, I don't see why that is not a fallacy of an appeal to ignorance.
Okay.
As to the first point kanina. So, can you repeat the recent question?
Yun nga. Sa tingin mo ba, Mark Steven, na yung logic natin is contingent or dependent sa existence ng human beings? Shall we say, if human beings did not exist, meron pa ba tayong laws of logic?
Okay. Yes. Because before the universe, before even the Earth came to be, no? Before even men or human beings came to be, the universe was already operating under the laws of logic. The mathematical regularities that are behind the mechanisms of how the world works presuppose the laws of logic.
No, teka. Magdi-disagree ako doon, Mark Steven. Kasi tawag dito, ang sinasabi kong laws of logic is our description of reality. No, hindi yung reality itself. So I can argue that reality itself will continue to exist kahit pa walang human beings. What I am saying here is that yung laws natin, yung descriptions natin ng reality, would it still exist kahit pa walang human beings themselves to describe it? Kasi ang isa pang sinasabi ng Big Bang cosmology natin is at t is equal to 0, our conventional law of science, math and logic ceases to exist. Hindi ceases to exist. Hindi natin ma-apply yung math, science and logic natin doon sa t is equal to 0. No? So nagbe-breakdown siya, hindi siya nagme-make sense. No, which is ang punto ko dito is that yung description natin ng laws of physics, the laws of physics themselves are only descriptive, no, hindi siya prescriptive. So kaya ko sinabi yung possibility na nasa the matrix tayo and outside of that iba na yung laws of logic natin. Therefore you cannot dismiss that and say na God lang ang sagot sa argument mo.
Okay, so Sir Mar, tapos na yung time mo for questioning.
Okay.
And
Sige.
it's up to Sir Mark Steven kung i-address pa niya rin ba yung sinabi mo. But of course, gamit na niya yung time niya for 5 minutes. And yeah, it's time for Sir Mark Steven na mag-ask ng questions to Sir Mar. Let's go.
Okay, so I just think that it is an impossible hypothesis that there exists a world wherein there are contradictions within it, because what we describe as laws of logic, they're not just constructs that are not grounded in reality. Because why do we describe it that way rather than another way? Yes, because we abstract things which we recognize are true in reality. So my first question, Sir Mar, would be this. Back to the analogy, would the water in the cup be able to stay on that place above the water, above the table, if the ground would cease to exist?
No, magbe-breakdown siya.
No, okay. So that is an analogy of the existence of the universe itself. Would the universe itself remain in existence if there is there's no thing that is already actual that actualizes it, or anything that changes? Let me rephrase the question this way: would anything that changes still exist, continue in existence, if something to actualize it would not exist?
Ang point ko nga dyan is that yung unactualized actualizer would still need an actualizer kung gusto mong gamitin yung ganong klaseng logic pa din.
My question is it so or not? Would the universe, would anything in the universe persist in existence if an actualizer is not concurrently actualizing it? Yes or no?
I don't know the answer to that. Kulang pa ng data para sagutin ko 'yon.
Why? Why? Because the existence of anything is purely potential, diba? Unless something actualizes it.
Okay.
I'm not saying that actualize has to be pretty actual. No, I'm saying I'm asking whether something has to exist which actualizes its existence at any moment that it exists. No, is it true?
Ulit.
Does anything that undergoes change, no? That anything, does that the existence of that thing persist if something that is not already actualizes it at any moment that it exists?
Yung all the things that we know of follows that rule. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So if you say that, okay, yes. So that actualizer of that thing either has to be really actual or not. You say not, di ba? I said earlier in one of the premises we have a disjunction. Either that is a really actualizer or it is not. What has been contended is this, no? The question, my next question. Would such actualizer, if it is also actualized, so there has to be a regress of actualized actualizers, di ba?
Yes.
Do we need a first actualizer that actualizes the entire series for the S, no, the substance to exist? Does there have to be a first cause which is unactualized?
No, we don't. It is an unsubstantiated assumption based on our ignorance of the whole universe, no. Yun nga, uulit tayo dun sa black swan fallacy dahil nga lahat ng nakikita natin has to have an actualizer, pero the universe itself, we just cannot say, we just don't know.
Okay, so you're not sure. Okay, you're not sure. As to, we go back to the analogy, no. At the moment that the water is in that place, it is actualized. No, it is actualized, but actually an actualizer, which is the table, which is in turn actualized. But would the water exist in that way, in that location, if the ground would not be there to hold it
No,
at any moment?
the immediate actualizer will still do its job of actualizing the water, no. Hindi mo siya pwedeng i-equivocate doon sa mismong beginning ng actualization, no. So yung sa tubig and then the one who actualizes it can be an isolated event, pero yung the beginning itself pwede siyang maging non-actualized, pwede siyang maging actualized. The point is, who knows? Hindi mo siya pwedeng i-deduce without looking from the ground up, without having an outside perspective of the universe.
Okay, given that question, given that answer, I think I have to push back, to push further, no? The question, which is this.
Sige.
At the moment that the water exists, no, at any moment. So let's say it has already been actualized in the past. That the hydrogen and oxygen, no, that have already done the necessary process for it to become H2O, which is water. So given it is already water, would it persist as water? No, as water. Would its existence persist as water if there is no actualizer of its existence at any moment that it does exist as water?
Yes.
So it would continue without an actualizer?
Yes.
So that's the question. Okay, so you have come to the view of existential inertia, no? So the problem with that is this, no? The water, let me ask you a question, no? Can the water exist if its parts, its physical parts, maybe its microstructure of water, no? We do not have to elaborate as to what that is. Would the water continue in existence if its parts, its microstructure, were not actual? Okay.
That would be your last question, Sir Mark Steven. It's up to Sir Mark kung i-answer niya na.
Hello. Ayun. So, the okay, point, pwede kong i-expound yung
Sir Mark, that
yes.
was Mark Steven's last question.
Ano ba yung timer? Can I address that?
Okay, go on.
O hindi na? Closing na?
Yeah. Okay. Okay na, open discussion na tayo ngayon.
Sige.
And kaya sa mga viewers natin, send na kayo ng questions. Nahihiya yung iba sa inyo kasi baka babasahin ko yung names nyo. Of course, di ko babasahin yung names nyo. Basta legitimate na yung question nyo. I think sa tingin ko may sense. Of course, babasahin at saka i-ask ko sa ating mga discussers. Pero sa huwag kayo maya, alright? So,
Moderator,
ngayon,
naka-con ka na ba ng mga question? Naka-collect ka na ba ng mga primary questions?
Parang troll lang to ibang questions dito eh. So, nag-iintay ako parang yung may sense na sense na questions eh.
Sige, habang nag-aantay ka, i-address ko muna yung kay Mark Steven. No?
Of course, open discussion.
Yung sa
pwede ka magtanong.
Sige. Yung sa water, Mark Steven. Pwede ko bang i-expound 'yon by saying, 'di ba, the water is on the table. Tas kumaga, sabi natin it has the potential to evaporate, no? Tapos yung potential to evaporate is actualized by, sabi natin, the heat of the sun, no? Tapos yung the heat of the sun is actualized by the nuclear fusion sa loob ng atoms. Tapos yung heat na kinreate ng nuclear fusion is actualized by the weak nuclear force, no? And therefore yung weak nuclear force na yun is actualized again by the subatomic particles na na-create nung sa Big Bang. Ngayon, doon sa creation na yon sa Big Bang, when T equals to 0, ang sinasabi ko dito is that we do not know. But that doesn't mean yung pag-actualize ng tubig would stop or it is invalid, no? Ang punto natin dito is that the universe may well be infinite. We may well be in the matrix. Okay lang sa akin kahit may kung totoo na may unmoved mover, no? Pero the point is yung beginning na yon is we still do not know what that is. Pero you cannot deduce God out of that argument. It is a fallacious argument, kumbaga. Tapos mayroon pa akong nabasa dito na tawag dito. Yun nga, lagi nilang sinasabi nga na deductive yung logic natin dito. Pero yung basis natin kasi is is coming from the inductive reasoning na yung phenomenon natin today is the same as the phenomenon in the beginning, which commits the problem of induction. So, in the end, hindi mo pa rin pwedeng i-deduce kasi the principle of deduction, kailangan you have eliminated all that is para masabi mo na yung final form is the real one. Is this the logically true one. The fact na hindi pa rin natin ma-eliminate yung possibility na the universe may be infinite or we must be in the matrix, ganon, proves that we cannot deduce God itself as the cause, no? And kung dadagdagan ko pa, yung premise 17 to 49 ni Fesser is also unsubstantiated kasi internal lang naman yung mga characteristics ni God na nilalagay niyang all powerful, all perfect, all knowing, and then magiging self-contradictory pa siya. So ang inuulit ko kanina, the characteristics themselves must be comporting with reality in order for it to be true. Otherwise, internally consistent lang yung logic mo, sound lang siya, but it's not realistic.
Okay.
So, may I respond or no?
No, of course, open discussion to, of course.
So, my response to that is this. Though we may not have 100% certainty, that the laws of logic, as it is now, is also back then. I still really think that it is irrelevant, because
10 more minutes, 10 minutes.
We are talking about something now wherein the laws that works now are those that work now. No? At this very moment, my contention is at the current laws of logic, without look at the first laws, because in a sense of time, in a sense of a first cause of some of the universe to a Big Bang, that is the argument. That is not relevant. That is not essential. But it has been explicitly denied as essential by Fraser, by Aquinas, and so on. So, question, my point is this. Also, as to the second, no, as to the second point, no, that maybe the purely actualizer, if such exists, maybe that is a universe. But as I have said, the universe undergoes change, and undergoing change, there is some potential to it, and having potential, it is not really actual. Di ba? That just follows deductively. That follows reasonably, and I think that disqualifies the universe itself or anything else that undergoes change to be that unactualized actualizer. And it is not special feeding, as I said, because we are not just presupposing that it is God that is the unactualized actualizer, and then say that because God is an actualized actualizer and an actualized actualizer exists, therefore God exists. That is a strong man. No? That's a strong man of the argument. What we are saying is this: no? That if change occurs, a purely actualizer should exist. We do not know yet if that is God or not. Then the stage 2 then shows that such a purely actualizer has to be God. So there's no circular reasoning. There's no presuming the conclusion.
Sige, Mark Steven, mukhang nandun sa premises 17 to 49 yung contention natin, no? Kasi tulad nga ng sinabi mo kanina, there could be a purely actualized actualizer based on the premises. There could be not. Pero yung extension ng buong premises proves that there must be a purely actualized actualizer. So, siguro, doon tayo mag-focus doon sa premises 17 to 49 in which dinefine ni Phaser yung si God as perfect, immutable, immaterial, ganon. Kasi there are a lot of contentions to that siguro hindi natin matatakel in another hour or so. Moderator, pwede ba tayong mag-extend up to an hour more?
I think para sobra na yan. At saka to butt in, kung pwede. May sige. Question kasi. So ito, this question was sent by Arvin Malabanan.
Sure.
Isa siya sa mga warriors na siguro sa 20% na theist dito sa chat, sa live chat. So
that's good. It makes the conversation going, kumaga entertaining ang comment section, kumaga.
So ngayon, kanyang question is may dalawang question siya. First question is, induction ba ang ginagamit para malaman natin ang principle of causality according to Aristotle or Dr. Edward Fesser? Dr. Edward Fesser. Induction ba raw ang ginamit?
No, teka, baka hindi ako naintindihan ni... Ande, okay na ba?
Okay na.
Yun. Hindi maayos yung pagkaka-form ng tanong kasi ang pinakapunto ko nito is that within Aristotle's argument itself, no, there is an inductive type of reasoning in which that mukha siyang hindi inductive kasi ginawa niyang absolute yung statement. Ang sinasabi niya is teka. Kung hahanapin ko ulit yung premises, wait lang Ayun, tawag dito. No potential can be actualized unless acted upon by an actualizer, no? That is an absolute statement and hindi siya substantiated. Galing lang siya sa inductive reasoning, which is lahat ng na-observe natin is actualized. Yun yung pinupunto ko when I said that merong inductive reasoning dito sa premises na to, which makes the whole deductive reasoning dependent or nagdedepende sa isang assumption, no? Yung premise number 4, no potential can be actualized unless something already actualizes it, the principle of causality.
Okay.
Si Mark Steven, may may response ba?
Sige, pwede.
I would a deduction from an analysis of change, because if something that is merely potential could be, if premise 4 is false, no? If it is false, then potency itself can be enough to raise itself to actuality, meaning there is no need of something already actual to actualize it. But the problem is, we know that as from observation and even from analysis of potency itself, that potentials do not just raise themselves to actuality without an actualizer, because, for example, it has all the potency has already been there, even without the actualizer yet. But it would be a miracle. It would be a miracle. No? Why such a potency has not yet been actualized, and it still waits for an actualizer for it to be actualized. If it is true that potentials can be actualized without an actualizer, which means it is false.
Yeah, ang pinaka keyword nga nun, Mark Steven, is yung sinabi mo kanina, ikaw na mismo nagsabi, which is from observation. Unless unless you deny the fact that we are faulty human beings with a limited understanding of the universe, you have to substantiate that na yung observation mo is true on all aspects of the present, of the past, and of the future, and also on the beginning of the universe. I still contend my statement that we still cannot know for sure if premise number 4 is absolutely true.
Oh. So, sandali lang, parang walang questions kasi na nanggagaling sa Atheist. So, ayoko namang lumabas na parang pinagtutulungan namin si Sir Mark.
No, that's okay. Okay lang yun.
Kasi halos lahat ng questions dito from Theist. So, Atheist, huwag kayong matakot mag-send ng questions.
Kung wala pa,
And
pwede ako
first
magtanong
question-
kay... sige, may question pa ba sa akin?
Personal question ako. Since na-bring up mo yun, Sir Mark, kanina na about yung what if simulation lang tayo, di ba? Alright, so, kung sinasabi mo, yung nasa isip ko kasi, yung parang yung computer analogy I hope familiar ka dun. Na parang nasa isang game tayo, avatars tayo sa isang game.
Yes.
Character tayo sa Run Online or Cabal Online. Ang meaning mo ng reality doon is, siguro pag may nakita akong monster na level 13 dyan, ang kita mo rin dyan sa computer mo is level 13 monster din. So that's reality between us. Am I right?
Hindi. Ang pinakapunto ko doon, and maganda yung game analogy mo, no? Sige, gamitin natin analogy yung Run Online, no? Sa Run Online, merong although di pa ako nakalaro nun, merong mga phenomenon doon that cannot exist dito sa real world natin, no? Pero internally, because the game has rules, it has to be there and it has to be consistent. Otherwise, imbalance yung game at ipapatch to ng mga developers, tama ba?
Yes.
So yun yung sinasabi ko kay Mark Steven, no, na the entire universe of Run Online may be consistent, and kung nandun ka sa universe na yun, all that you would know is that the rules of the game itself. Kailangan mong umalis palayo dun sa game na yun into another reality, the outside reality, para makita mo yung another set of logic, science, and mathematics na nag-govern sa outside reality. Yun yung uncertain dito sa ano natin. Dito sa kuha natin. And yun
I get it. So, sinasabi mo na it's impossible to perceive ontologically objective na mga
yes, that's
bagay
exactly right.
Through
pure observation.
Pure observation or epistemology.
Because you would invoke the problem of induction using that. And if I may say, no, kung yung mga theists ina-accuse ang mga atheists na nagre-rely kami sa problem of induction para pagkatiwalaan ng science, kadalasan kasi ginagamit ito ng mga creationist, no, para i-justify na yung carbon dating nyo nagsasabi ganito ganyan na yung universe is old, pero alam nyo ba na yung phenomenon ng carbon dating is consistent today, to the past, to the present, to the future? Yun yung nilalaban nila. So the problem of induction is so important that it demands uniformity, kumbaga, na hindi ma-justify ng theist. How can you say that yung Aristotelian physics, Newtonian laws natin is applicable sa beginning of the universe para mag-argue tayo within that?
Okay. Alright, I understood. So, Sir Mark, Mark Steven, any response to that?
Okay. So, so the main question here already becomes whether if that you may concede that the argument is sound, but if it is sound, are we 100% sure that it has ontological basis in reality? That has, that is, I think,
Yeah.
how I
That's my
interpret the
point. That's my
question.
point. Yes.
Let, let me begin with the thesis. The thesis is that it makes the belief, the Aristotelian argument, makes the belief in God's existence reasonable. Diba? So as far as the best, the best inference we can have, we can reduce it to an inference. Even if it is actually a deduction, no? But if you just reduce that to an inference, induction, that still gives us rational basis for belief in the existence of God. Why? Because induction is basic. For example, in the sciences, we observe certain regularities and we abstract from the similarities of those observed realities, and then we make a rational, no, a rational uh, inference that such and such is the case. No? We observe and then we conclude, and we do that by induction. We cannot just attack induction per se. We can just invalidate induction and say that that is sufficient ground to to say that the Aristotelian argument in God reasonable without also compromising the whole scientific enterprise, because the whole scientific enterprise and even philosophical enterprise is resting on, no, on maybe not the whole, no, but as a big part of it, a big chunk of it is resting on induction. No? So I think it would be special pleading to just apply that very high standard of evidence to be actually 100% certain without involving any induction to just this argument, and just not use that bar to the sciences, no, and even some philosophical beliefs that you hold, no. So that would be my response.
All right. So I think I'll give the last chance kay Sir
Sige.
Mark to respond. Because I think nagsa-step out na tayo sa ating topic kasi.
Don't worry.
Siguro.
Last response to Mark Steven, and I'll give him credit for that, no. For that statement, no. Ang pinagkaiba nga lang. Tama ka, Mark Steven, tama ka. The whole of scientific enterprise rests on the principle of induction, no. Unfortunately, ang pinagkaiba nga lang is science, hindi siya nag-claim kasi ng absolutism, no. Ang science kasi is ever changing based on the current observation, no. Nangyari yan nung classical physics na nabanggit ni Lord Kelvin ng England, na lahat na ng lahat na pwedeng madiskubre na, no, which is obviously false, no, nung medieval times pa nila sinabi yun. But then came Albert Einstein and changed everything with his view of theory of relativity, no. So that goes to show, no, na science admits fully the problem of induction and it changes accordingly, no. The only problem is Fesser's argument argues for absolutism, no, that there can only be one answer, and that is God. So yun lang naman yung problema, pero generally Mark Steven, tama ka doon.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, at least alright, to end this, sa bagay-bagay, no, we may disagree on some things or on some major things that is or ideas dito sa mundo, but one thing's for sure, we agree for a healthy discussion. Walang trolling sana na mangyayari. That's why we're making this happen, to promote intellectual discourse, rational discourse, and respectful discourse sa isa't isa. So I hope nag-enjoy yung mga viewers at saka yung mga debaters. I hope we can do it again next time. Maraming salamat sa inyo, Mark Steven at saka Sir Mar.
Thank you.
Thank you rin sa opportunity.
Thank you, Sir Mar.
Thank you, Mark Steven. Thank you.
All right. So again, this is Discurso Pinas page. Please follow it. sa mga gustong mag-debate about abortion, ethical issues, social issues, politics, religion, science, pwede natin yung i-cater. So, yeah, abangan nyo ang siguro sa reaction or sa podcast ni Sir Mar, magre-react siya on some points in this video. And of course, siguro si Sir Mark Steven din. Alright, thank you sa lahat ng nakinig. See you again next time. Magandang gabi.
Thank
Bye,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.